In this video, we delve into the gripping experiences of working alongside Parker at a steel plant, a setting that is as intense as it is revealing. From the moment I stepped onto the factory floor, I was struck by the sheer scale of the operation and the palpable energy that filled the air. The clang of metal, the roar of machinery, and the heat radiating from the furnaces created an atmosphere that was both exhilarating and intimidating. Parker, a seasoned worker with years of experience, quickly became a focal point of my observations. His presence was commanding. He moved with a confidence that suggested he had mastered the complexities of the plant. However, beneath his tough exterior lay a depth of knowledge and a keen awareness of the dangers that lurked in every corner of the facility. As I began to learn from him, I realized that his insights were not just about the technical aspects of the job, but also about navigating the intricate dynamics of workplace relationships. The steel plant was not merely a place of employment. It was a microcosm of human interaction, where trust and safety were paramount. The suspense began to build as I witnessed the daily challenges faced by Parker and his colleagues, each moment underscoring the critical importance of understanding both the machinery and the people operating it. The stakes were high, and the potential for accidents loomed large, making it essential to grasp the nuances of personal safety in such a volatile environment. As the narrative unfolds, we will explore the events that transpired, revealing how Parker's experiences and the lessons learned in this high-pressure setting shaped not only his career but also my understanding of the vital interplay between workplace dynamics and personal safety. Join me as we uncover the layers of this compelling story, where every decision counts and the consequences can be life-altering. As the day began at the steel plant, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The security team was buzzing with chatter, their usual banter punctuated by the arrival of a new member, Parker. When he walked in, he immediately commanded attention. Standing tall with a robust build, Parker exuded an air of confidence that was hard to ignore. His rugged features were framed by a closely cropped beard, and his piercing blue eyes seemed to scan the room with a mix of curiosity and determination. Dressed in the standard issue uniform, he wore it with a certain swagger that suggested he was no stranger to the demands of the job. The way he carried himself spoke volumes. He was someone who had faced challenges head-on and emerged unscathed. However, as Parker introduced himself to the team, the initial reactions were a blend of intrigue and skepticism. Some of my colleagues exchanged glances, their expressions revealing a mix of admiration and wariness. It was clear that while Parker's physical presence was impressive, his personality was a different matter altogether. He had a tendency to be direct, sometimes bordering on brusque, which left some team members feeling unsettled. A few of us appreciated his straightforwardness, seeing it as a refreshing change from the usual pleasantries that often mask deeper issues. Yet, others felt that his approach lacked the warmth and camaraderie that we had cultivated within our tight-knit group. This dichotomy in reactions highlighted the complexities of workplace dynamics. On one hand, there was a palpable excitement about having someone with Parker's experience on board. On the other, there was an underlying caution that came from the fear of disrupting the established harmony of the team. We had built a rapport over time, and the introduction of a new personality could either enhance our camaraderie or create friction. As we navigated these mixed feelings, it became evident that understanding Parker's demeanor would be crucial in determining how he would fit into our team. The concept of workplace camaraderie was something we all valued deeply. It was the glue that held us together during long shifts and challenging situations. We relied on each other not just for support but also for safety, as the nature of our work demanded a high level of trust. In a place where the stakes were high, knowing that your colleagues had your back was essential. Yet, with Parker's arrival, there was a sense of caution that permeated our interactions. Would he embrace our camaraderie, or would his personality create a rift? As the days went by, we observed Parker closely, trying to gauge his intentions and how he would integrate into our team. He was undeniably skilled, demonstrating a keen understanding of security protocols and a sharp eye for detail. However, his brusque manner sometimes alienated those who preferred a more collaborative approach. It was a delicate balance. We wanted to welcome him into our fold, but we also needed to protect the camaraderie that had taken years to build. In the midst of this uncertainty, I found myself reflecting on the importance of communication. It became clear that fostering an environment where everyone felt comfortable expressing their thoughts and concerns would be vital in navigating this new dynamic. We needed to establish a dialogue with Parker to understand his perspective and share our own. This was not just about integrating a new team member. It was about ensuring that our collective safety and morale remained intact. As we continued to work alongside Parker, the initial apprehension began to give way to a cautious curiosity. We started to see glimpses of his character beyond the tough exterior. He had a dry sense of humor that occasionally broke through, lightening the mood during tense moments. It was these small interactions that began to bridge the gap between him and the rest of the team. Slowly, we learned that beneath his directness lay a genuine commitment to the job and a desire to contribute positively to our work environment. However, the caution remained. We were acutely aware that while camaraderie was essential, so too was the need for vigilance. The steel plant was a place where distractions could lead to dangerous situations, and we had to remain focused. Parker's arrival had introduced a new variable into our equation, and we needed to ensure that our safety protocols were upheld without compromise. As we navigated this evolving relationship, it became increasingly clear that understanding Parker's personality would require patience and open-mindedness. We were all learning from one another, and the process of integrating him into our team was as much about us adapting as it was about him fitting in. The journey was fraught with challenges, but it also held the promise of growth, both for Parker and for the security team as a whole. In the end, the introduction of Parker to our team was a pivotal moment that underscored the complexities of workplace dynamics. It reminded us that while camaraderie is vital, it must be balanced with caution and a willingness to adapt. As we moved forward, we embraced the opportunity to learn from one another, forging a path that would ultimately strengthen our bonds and enhance our collective safety. The steel plant was not just a workplace. It was a community, and every new member brought with them the potential to enrich that community in unexpected ways. Working night shifts with Parker at the steel plant was an experience that tested my limits and challenged my perceptions of safety and professionalism. The atmosphere during those late hours was markedly different from the bustling energy of the daytime crew. The shadows cast by the towering machinery seemed to loom larger, and the sounds of the plant took on an eerie quality, echoing through the vast space. It was during these quiet hours that I found myself alone with Parker, and the dynamics of our partnership began to unfold in unexpected ways. Initially, I was excited about the prospect of working closely with someone as experienced as Parker. His knowledge of the plant was impressive, and I hoped to learn a great deal from him. However, as the nights wore on, I began to notice a shift in his demeanor. While he was competent and efficient in his duties, there were moments when his behavior became erratic. He would often make offhand comments that seemed inappropriate for the workplace, and his laughter would echo in the empty corridors, creating an unsettling atmosphere. I found myself questioning whether I was witnessing a side of Parker that was merely a reflection of the stress of night shifts or something more concerning. The isolation of working nights intensified the challenges we faced. With fewer staff on duty, the weight of responsibility fell heavily on our shoulders. There were times when Parker would take risks that made me uneasy. For instance, he would often bypass safety protocols, insisting that he knew better. "We've done this 100 times," he would say, dismissing my concerns with a wave of his hand. I understood the importance of efficiency in our work, but I also recognized that cutting corners could lead to dangerous situations. The tension between professionalism and personal safety became increasingly palpable as I grappled with my growing unease. As the weeks progressed, my concern for Parker deepened. His late-night antics began to escalate, and I found myself on edge, unsure of how to address the situation. One night, while we were monitoring the perimeter of the plant, he suddenly veered off course, claiming he had spotted something unusual. I followed him, but as we ventured deeper into the shadows, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Parker's behavior was becoming unpredictable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was pushing boundaries that should remain firmly in place. The isolation of the night shift magnified my worries. With only the two of us on duty, I felt a sense of vulnerability that was hard to ignore. I had always believed in the importance of teamwork and communication, but Parker's increasingly erratic behavior made it difficult to maintain that sense of camaraderie. I found myself questioning whether I could trust him to prioritize our safety, and that uncertainty weighed heavily on my mind. One particularly tense night, we were tasked with conducting a routine inspection of the machinery. As we approached a particularly hazardous area, Parker's demeanor shifted again. He seemed distracted, his focus wavering as he muttered to himself. I tried to engage him in conversation, hoping to bring him back to the task at hand, but he brushed me off, insisting he was fine. I could see the tension in his posture, and it made me uneasy. The stakes were high in a steel plant, and any lapse in concentration could lead to catastrophic consequences. As I stood there watching Parker, I felt a growing sense of responsibility, not just for my own safety, but for his as well. I knew that I had to find a way to address my concerns without alienating him. The challenge was to strike a balance between professionalism and the need to speak up for our safety. I had always been taught that communication was key in any workplace, but how do you communicate concerns about a colleague's behavior without jeopardizing the working relationship? The nights dragged on, and with each shift, I became more aware of the delicate line we were walking. Parker's behavior was increasingly unpredictable, and I found myself second-guessing every decision we made together. I began to document our shifts, noting instances where I felt his actions were reckless or dismissive of safety protocols. It was a way to hold myself accountable, to ensure that I was not overreacting to the stress of the night shifts. But deep down, I knew that my instincts were telling me something important. One night, as we were wrapping up our shift, Parker made a comment that sent chills down my spine. "You know, sometimes I think the rules are just suggestions," he said with a laugh, his eyes glinting in the dim light. I forced a smile, but inside, alarm bells were ringing. This was not just a matter of personal safety. It was about the safety of everyone in the plant. I realized that I could no longer remain silent. I had to address my concerns not just for my own peace of mind, but for the sake of our entire team. The following day, I approached my supervisor, carefully outlining my observations about Parker's behavior during our night shifts. It was a difficult conversation, filled with hesitation and uncertainty. I worried about how my concerns would be received, but I knew that I had to prioritize safety above all else. My supervisor listened attentively, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. He assured me that he would look into the matter and that my concerns were valid. As I returned to my duties, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had taken a step toward addressing the tension between professionalism and personal safety, and it felt empowering. However, I also knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Parker's reaction to my concerns was uncertain, and I braced myself for the possibility of confrontation. In the days that followed, I noticed a shift in the atmosphere during our night shifts. Parker seemed more guarded, and the camaraderie we had once shared felt strained. I could sense that he was aware of my conversation with our supervisor, and it created an uncomfortable tension between us. The dynamic had changed, and I was left grappling with the consequences of my decision. Ultimately, working night shifts with Parker became a lesson in the complexities of workplace relationships. It highlighted the importance of addressing concerns, even when it feels uncomfortable. The balance between professionalism and personal safety is a delicate one, and it requires open communication and a willingness to confront difficult situations. As I navigated this challenging experience, I learned that prioritizing safety is not just about following protocols. It's about fostering an environment where everyone feels empowered to speak up and protect one another. The steel plant was a place of hard work and dedication, but it was also a reminder that safety must always come first, even in the face of uncertainty. The night was unusually quiet at the steel plant, a stark contrast to the usual cacophony of machinery and the rhythmic clanging of metal. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the sprawling complex. As I sat in the guard shack with Parker, the silence felt almost oppressive, a heavy blanket that stifled any sense of normalcy. We had just finished our routine checks, and the stillness was both comforting and unsettling. It was during these late hours that the atmosphere could shift in an instant, and little did we know how true that would soon become. Parker was leaning back in his chair, his eyes scanning the monitors that displayed various angles of the plant. He seemed relaxed, but I could sense an underlying tension in his posture. It was as if he was attuned to the slightest changes in our surroundings, a protective instinct that had become more pronounced during our time working together. I had come to appreciate his vigilance, even if it sometimes bordered on paranoia. As we exchanged idle chatter, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, a nagging sensation that lingered in the back of my mind. Suddenly, the stillness was shattered by a series of sharp cracks that echoed through the night. Gunfire erupted outside the guard shack, the sound reverberating off the steel walls and sending a jolt of adrenaline coursing through my veins. My heart raced as I instinctively ducked beneath the desk, the reality of the situation crashing down on me like a wave. The world outside had transformed from a quiet night shift into a scene of chaos in an instant. I could hear the distinct sound of bullets ricocheting off metal, and the air was thick with confusion and fear. Parker's reaction was immediate and instinctual. Without hesitation, he sprang into action, his protective instincts kicking in as he moved to shield me from the onslaught. He grabbed my arm and pulled me closer to him, positioning himself between me and the door. "Stay down," he shouted, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around us. I could see the determination in his eyes, a fierce resolve that was both comforting and terrifying. In that moment, he was not just a colleague. He was a protector, instinctively putting himself in harm's way to ensure my safety. As the gunfire continued, I felt a mix of shock and confusion wash over me. My mind raced, trying to comprehend the reality of what was happening. Who was shooting? Why were they targeting the plant? The questions swirled in my head, but there was no time to process them. The adrenaline surged through me, heightening my senses and making everything feel surreal. I could hear the distant shouts of other security personnel, their voices laced with urgency, but it all felt muffled, as if I were trapped in a bubble of chaos. Parker remained focused, his eyes darting between the monitors and the door, assessing the situation with a calmness that belied the danger we were in. He reached for his radio, his hands steady as he called for backup. "We're under fire at the guard shack. I need units on the perimeter now." His voice was authoritative, cutting through the confusion like a beacon of clarity. I marveled at his composure, even as my own thoughts spiraled into a whirlwind of fear. The gunfire intensified, and I could feel the vibrations of the bullets hitting the structure around us. Parker's grip on my arm tightened, and I could sense his determination to keep me safe. "We're going to get through this," he said, his voice low but firm. I wanted to believe him, but the reality of the situation was overwhelming. The shock of the moment left me feeling disoriented, as if I were watching everything unfold from a distance, unable to fully grasp the gravity of what was happening. As the minutes dragged on, the sound of gunfire began to ebb, replaced by the distant wail of sirens approaching. Parker's focus never wavered. He remained vigilant, scanning the area for any signs of danger. I could see the tension etched on his face, the lines of worry deepening as he assessed the situation. It was clear that he was not just concerned for my safety but for the safety of everyone in the plant. His protective instincts were on high alert, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of gratitude and fear. In the midst of the chaos, I felt a surge of emotions: fear, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. I had always thought of myself as someone who could handle pressure, but this was a different level of intensity. The reality of the situation was stark. We were in a life-or-death scenario, and there was no way to predict how it would unfold. I glanced at Parker, who remained resolute, and I felt a flicker of hope amidst the turmoil. His presence was a lifeline, a reminder that I was not alone in this harrowing moment. As the sirens grew louder, I could hear the sounds of approaching vehicles and the shouts of law enforcement. The realization that help was on the way brought a sense of relief, but it was tempered by the uncertainty of what had just transpired. The atmosphere was charged with tension, and I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I had never experienced anything like this before, and the shock of the incident would linger long after the gunfire had ceased. Finally, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the guard shack, and the door burst open as officers rushed in, weapons drawn. The sight of them brought a wave of relief, but it was quickly overshadowed by the chaos that had unfolded. Parker remained by my side, his protective stance unwavering as he briefed the officers on what had happened. I watched as he took charge, his instincts guiding him through the aftermath of the incident. It was a testament to his character, a reflection of the dedication he had shown throughout our time working together. As the officers began to assess the situation, I felt a mix of emotions wash over me. The shock of the gunfire still lingered, but there was also a sense of gratitude for Parker's unwavering support. He had acted without hesitation, putting himself in harm's way to protect me. In that moment, I realized the depth of our bond, forged in the crucible of crisis. The experience had changed us both, and I knew that the memories of that night would stay with me forever. In the aftermath of the incident, as we began to process what had happened, I found myself reflecting on the fragility of life and the importance of trust in the workplace. The steel plant had always been a place of hard work and dedication, but it had also become a reminder of the unpredictable nature of our environment. Parker's actions that night had not only saved me, but had also reinforced the significance of camaraderie and vigilance in the face of danger. The shock and confusion of that night would linger in my mind, but it also served as a catalyst for growth. I learned that in moments of crisis, it is the bonds we forge with our colleagues that can make all the difference. Parker's protective instincts had guided us through the chaos, and I knew that I would carry the lessons of that night with me as we continued our work at the steel plant. The experience had reshaped my understanding of safety, professionalism, and the importance of looking out for one another, no matter the circumstances. In the aftermath of the shooting incident at the steel plant, the atmosphere was thick with tension and uncertainty. The once bustling facility had transformed into a scene of chaos, with law enforcement swarming the area, conducting interviews, and gathering evidence. The sound of sirens had faded, but the echoes of gunfire still reverberated in my mind, a haunting reminder of the night's events. As I sat in the break room, surrounded by my colleagues, the weight of what had transpired pressed heavily on my chest. We were all grappling with the shock of the incident, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper, a sense of betrayal that would soon come to light. The investigation that followed was thorough and relentless. Detectives combed through the plant, examining every inch of the premises for clues. They interviewed everyone who had been on duty that night, including Parker and me. I recounted the events as best as I could, my voice trembling as I described the chaos and Parker's protective instincts. The officers listened intently, taking notes and asking probing questions. I could see the concern etched on their faces, but there was also a sense of urgency as they sought to piece together the puzzle of what had happened. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the shooting was not a random act of violence. The authorities discovered that the assailants had targeted the plant for a reason, and the implications of that revelation sent shockwaves through the community. Rumors began to circulate, and whispers of hidden agendas and criminal ties filled the air. It was a stark reminder that the world we inhabited was not as safe as we had once believed. The steel plant, a place where we had dedicated ourselves to hard work and camaraderie, was now shrouded in suspicion and fear. Amidst the chaos, I found myself reflecting on the concept of hidden pasts and unexpected truths. As the investigation progressed, it became apparent that Parker was not who he had claimed to be. The detectives uncovered information that suggested he had a history that he had kept hidden from us. I had always admired Parker's confidence and expertise, but now I began to question everything I thought I knew about him. The man who had once been my protector was now shrouded in mystery, and the revelations about his past left me feeling unsettled. The first hint of Parker's hidden identity came when the detectives asked me about his background. "Do you know where he's from?" one of them inquired, his brow furrowed in concentration. I shook my head, unable to provide any concrete details. Parker had always been somewhat guarded about his personal life, sharing only snippets of information that painted him as a seasoned security professional with a wealth of experience. But now, I realized that I had never truly known him. The thought gnawed at me, and I felt a growing sense of betrayal as I considered the possibility that he had been living a lie. As the investigation continued, more details emerged about Parker's past. It turned out that he had been involved in a series of incidents that raised serious questions about his character. The detectives uncovered records of previous employment that hinted at a troubled history, including allegations of misconduct and questionable decisions. I felt a wave of confusion wash over me as I processed this information. How could the man I had trusted so completely be hiding such a dark past? The realization that Parker had been living under a facade shattered my perception of him, and I struggled to reconcile the two versions of the man I thought I knew. The feelings of betrayal were compounded by the fact that Parker had been my ally during the shooting incident. He had acted instinctively to protect me, putting himself in harm's way without hesitation. Yet, as I learned more about his past, I couldn't help but wonder if his actions had been motivated by genuine concern, or if there was something more sinister at play. The confusion swirled in my mind, and I found myself questioning my own judgment. Had I been naive to trust him so completely? Had I overlooked the signs that something was amiss? As the days turned into weeks, the investigation continued to unfold, and the revelations about Parker's true identity only deepened my sense of betrayal. I watched as my colleagues processed the news, their reactions ranging from shock to anger. Some felt a sense of relief that the truth had come to light, while others struggled to come to terms with the fact that someone they had trusted had been living a lie. The atmosphere at the plant shifted, and the camaraderie we had once shared began to fray at the edges. It was as if the very foundation of our team had been shaken, and we were left to pick up the pieces in the wake of the chaos. In the midst of this turmoil, I found myself grappling with my own emotions. I felt a profound sense of loss, not just for the trust one had placed in Parker, but for the sense of safety and security that had once defined our work environment. The steel plant had been a place where we had forged bonds and built a community, but now it felt tainted by the shadows of deception. I longed for the days when we could work side by side without the weight of suspicion hanging over us. As I navigated the aftermath of the shooting and the revelations about Parker, I realized that the experience had forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities. I had always prided myself on my ability to read people and assess situations, but this incident had exposed the limitations of my judgment. I had allowed myself to be blinded by trust, and the consequences were far-reaching. The betrayal cut deep, and I found myself questioning not only Parker's motives but also my own ability to discern truth from deception. In the end, the aftermath of the shooting incident became a turning point for me. It was a harsh reminder that the world is often more complex than it appears, and that hidden pasts can shape our present in ways we may not fully understand. As I continued to process the events that had unfolded, I knew that I would carry the lessons of that night with me for a long time to come. The experience had changed me, forcing me to reevaluate my perceptions of trust, safety, and the intricate web of human relationships that define our lives. The steel plant, once a symbol of hard work and camaraderie, had become a place of uncertainty and betrayal. But amidst the confusion, I also recognized the resilience of the human spirit. We would rebuild, learn from our experiences, and forge new connections, even in the face of adversity. The journey ahead would be challenging, but I was determined to emerge stronger, armed with the knowledge that trust must be earned, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is always worth seeking. Father Thomas had always been a steady presence in the small town of Wincham, a quaint community nestled between rolling hills and lush greenery. As the local priest, he played a pivotal role in the lives of the townspeople, serving not only as a spiritual leader but also as a confidant and advisor. His warm demeanor and genuine compassion made him a beloved figure, and he was often seen walking the cobblestone streets, greeting residents with a smile and a kind word. Father Thomas had dedicated his life to the service of others, and his commitment to the community was evident in every interaction he had. Wincham itself was a picturesque town, steeped in history and charm. Founded in the early 1800s, it boasted a rich heritage that was reflected in its well-preserved architecture and the stories passed down through generations. The town square, with its quaint shops and cozy cafes, served as the heart of the community, where residents gathered for festivals, farmers' markets, and seasonal celebrations. The towering steeple of St. Mary's Church, where Father Thomas held services every Sunday, was a prominent landmark, symbolizing the town's deep-rooted traditions and values. The sense of belonging and connection among the townspeople was palpable, creating an atmosphere that felt almost timeless. However, beneath the idyllic surface of Wincham, strange occurrences began to unfold, casting a shadow over the town's tranquility. It started with whispers, rumors of unusual happenings that sent a ripple of unease through the community. Residents reported sightings of flickering lights in the woods at night, strange sounds echoing through the streets, and an inexplicable feeling of being watched. At first, these tales were dismissed as mere folklore, the product of overactive imaginations fueled by the town's rich history of ghost stories and legends. But as the incidents continued, the sense of unease grew, and Father Thomas found himself drawn into the heart of the mystery. As a man of faith, Father Thomas approached the strange occurrences with a sense of curiosity tempered by caution. He had always believed in the power of community and the importance of addressing concerns head-on. The townspeople looked to him for guidance, and he felt a deep responsibility to help them navigate the growing anxiety that had taken hold of Wincham. He began to hold meetings at the church, inviting residents to share their experiences and fears. The gatherings became a safe space for open dialogue, where people could voice their concerns and seek solace in one another's company. During these meetings, Father Thomas listened intently as stories unfolded. Some spoke of shadows darting between trees, while others recounted eerie encounters that left them feeling unsettled. The tales varied, but a common thread of fear wove through them all. The quaint charm of Wincham was being overshadowed by an unsettling atmosphere, and Father Thomas knew that he had to take action. He felt a calling to investigate the strange occurrences, not only to ease the fears of his congregation, but also to uncover the truth behind the unsettling events that had begun to disrupt their peaceful lives. As he delved deeper into the mystery, Father Thomas began to explore the historical significance of Wincham. He discovered that the town had a rich tapestry of stories, some of which hinted at darker chapters in its past. There were whispers of old legends involving spirits and hauntings, tales that had been passed down through generations. The town's history was intertwined with the supernatural, and Father Thomas couldn't help but wonder if the strange occurrences were somehow connected to these long-forgotten stories. The quaint nature of Wincham, with its charming streets and friendly faces, had always been a source of pride for its residents. But now, as Father Thomas walked through the town, he felt a palpable shift in the air. The laughter that once echoed through the square was replaced by hushed conversations and wary glances. The sense of community that had defined Wincham was being tested, and Father Thomas felt the weight of that responsibility on his shoulders. He knew that he had to act quickly to restore a sense of normalcy and safety to the town he loved. As the days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences continued to escalate. Reports of flickering lights turned into sightings of shadowy figures lurking in the woods, and the once bustling town square felt eerily quiet at night. Father Thomas could sense the growing fear among the townspeople, and he knew that he had to confront the unknown. He began to gather information, speaking with local historians and delving into archives to uncover the town's hidden past. Each revelation brought him closer to understanding the strange happenings, but it also deepened the mystery that surrounded Wincham. The stage was set for a confrontation with the unknown, and Father Thomas felt a mix of trepidation and determination. He understood that the heart of the matter lay not only in the strange occurrences but also in the fears that had taken root within the community. The quaint charm of Wincham was at stake, and he was determined to protect it. With each passing day, he felt the weight of his role as a leader grow heavier, but he also felt a renewed sense of purpose. The town needed him now more than ever, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Father Thomas prepared to confront the mysteries of Wincham, he knew that he would need the support of his community. He reached out to the townspeople, encouraging them to come together in solidarity. The strength of their bonds would be crucial in facing the unknown, and he believed that together, they could uncover the truth behind the strange occurrences that had begun to unravel the fabric of their lives. The quaint town of Wincham, with its rich history and close-knit community, was about to embark on a journey that would test their faith, resilience, and unity in the face of the inexplicable. With the echoes of the past reverberating through the present, Father Thomas stood at the crossroads of history and mystery, ready to guide his community through the darkness that threatened to engulf them. The quaint charm of Wincham was not just a backdrop. It was a living testament to the strength of its people, and together, they would confront the shadows that loomed over their beloved town. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but Father Thomas was resolute in his belief that the truth would ultimately prevail, illuminating the path forward for Wincham and its residents. Wincham, with its picturesque streets and charming cottages, is a town steeped in history, but beneath its quaint exterior lies a tapestry of events that have shaped its eerie reputation. The origins of Wincham can be traced back to Roman times, when it served as a settlement along the ancient roads that crisscrossed the landscape. Archaeological evidence suggests that the area was inhabited as early as the Neolithic period, with burial grounds scattered throughout the region. These ancient sites, marked by stone structures and earthworks, hint at a rich cultural heritage that predates recorded history. The presence of these burial grounds has long contributed to the town's mystique, as locals often speak of the spirits that may linger among the ancient stones. The Neolithic burial grounds, in particular, are a source of fascination and unease. They serve as a reminder of the rituals and beliefs of the people who once inhabited the area, and many residents believe that the spirits of the departed still watch over the land. Tales of strange occurrences near these sites have been passed down through generations, with reports of eerie sounds and ghostly apparitions that have left an indelible mark on the town's folklore. The connection to the past is palpable, and the weight of history hangs heavy in the air, creating an atmosphere that is both enchanting and unsettling. As Wincham evolved through the centuries, it became a focal point for various historical events that would further shape its identity. One of the most significant events in the town's history was the arrival of the Holy Blood Relic, a sacred artifact believed to hold miraculous powers. The relic, said to contain a drop of Christ's blood, drew pilgrims from far and wide, transforming Wincham into a place of spiritual significance. The town flourished as visitors flocked to witness the relic, and its reputation as a center of faith and healing grew. However, the Holy Blood Relic's presence also attracted unwanted attention. In a shocking turn of events, the relic was stolen during a tumultuous period marked by political strife and social unrest. The theft sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents feeling vulnerable and betrayed. The loss of such a revered artifact not only diminished Wincham's status as a pilgrimage site, but also sparked a series of events that would haunt the town for generations. The relic's disappearance was shrouded in mystery, and rumors of dark forces at play began to circulate, further fueling the town's eerie reputation. The impact of the Holy Blood Relic's theft was profound, leading to a climate of fear and suspicion that permeated the community. In the wake of the incident, the townspeople became increasingly paranoid, convinced that malevolent forces were at work. This atmosphere of distrust laid the groundwork for one of the darkest chapters in Wincham's history, the witch trials. During the late 17th century, as the fear of witchcraft swept across England, Wincham was not spared from the hysteria that gripped the nation. The townspeople, already on edge from the loss of the relic, began to suspect their neighbors of practicing dark magic. Accusations flew, and the once close-knit community was torn apart by paranoia and fear. The witch trials that ensued were marked by a series of public trials and executions, as innocent lives were lost to the fervor of superstition. The trials left an indelible scar on Wincham, and the repercussions were felt for generations. Families were shattered, friendships dissolved, and the community was left grappling with the aftermath of the violence and injustice. The witch trials not only tarnished the town's reputation but also instilled a deep-seated fear of the unknown. The echoes of those dark days lingered in the collective memory of the townspeople, shaping their perceptions of the supernatural and the unseen forces that may still inhabit their world. As the years passed, the historical events that had shaped Wincham became woven into the fabric of its identity. The Roman origins and Neolithic burial grounds served as a reminder of the town's ancient past, while the theft of the Holy Blood Relic and the witch trials added layers of complexity to its narrative. The eerie reputation of Wincham was not merely a product of folklore. It was rooted in the very real experiences of its residents, who had faced the specter of loss, betrayal, and fear. Today, as Father Thomas navigates the strange occurrences that have begun to plague the town, he is acutely aware of the historical weight that rests upon Wincham. The stories of the past are not just tales to be told. They are living memories that continue to shape the present. The Neolithic burial grounds, the lost relic, and the witch trials all contribute to the town's atmosphere, creating a sense of unease that permeates the air. Father Thomas understands that the key to addressing the current unrest lies in acknowledging the town's history. He begins to delve deeper into the archives, seeking to uncover the connections between the past and the present. The strange occurrences that have unsettled the community may be more than mere coincidence. They could be echoes of the unresolved traumas that have haunted Wincham for centuries. As he gathers information and speaks with local historians, Father Thomas learns of the rituals that once took place at the Neolithic burial grounds, the reverence with which the holy blood relic was treated, and the fear that gripped the town during the witch trials. Each revelation adds a new layer to the mystery, and he begins to see the threads that connect these historical events to the strange happenings of today. The quaint charm of Wincham, with its cobblestone streets and friendly faces, is juxtaposed against the weight of its history. Father Thomas realizes that the town's eerie reputation is not simply a product of superstition. It is a reflection of the collective consciousness of its residents, shaped by the events that have unfolded over centuries. The spirits of the past may still linger, and it is up to him and the community to confront the shadows that have been cast over their lives. As the investigation unfolds, Father Thomas becomes increasingly aware of the importance of community in addressing the challenges they face. The townspeople must come together to confront their fears and acknowledge the history that has shaped their lives. Only by embracing their past can they hope to find a path forward, one that honors the memories of those who came before them while forging a new narrative for the future. In the heart of Wincham, the echoes of history resonate, reminding Father Thomas and the townspeople that they are not alone in their struggles. The past may be filled with darkness, but it is also a source of strength and resilience. Together, they can confront the strange occurrences that have unsettled their lives and reclaim the spirit of their beloved town, transforming fear into understanding and uncertainty into hope. The journey ahead will be fraught with challenges, but with each step, they will honor the legacy of Wincham and the stories that have shaped their community for generations. Father Michael had always been a figure of strength and wisdom in the small town of Wincham. With his silver hair and kind eyes, he exuded a sense of calm that put parishioners at ease. He had served the community for over 3 decades, guiding families through life's milestones, baptisms, weddings, and funerals, with grace and compassion. His sermons were filled with insight, drawing from both scripture and personal experience, and he had a remarkable ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Initially, Father Thomas admired him greatly, viewing him as a mentor and a source of inspiration as he began his own journey in the priesthood. However, as time passed, Father Thomas began to notice subtle changes in Father Michael's demeanor. The once vibrant priest, who had been a pillar of the community, started to exhibit signs of mental decline that were difficult to ignore. At first, it was small things, a forgotten name here, a misplaced item there. Father Michael would often chuckle it off, attributing it to the natural aging process. But as the weeks turned into months, the warning signs became more pronounced. He would lose his train of thought mid-sermon, his eyes clouding over as he struggled to recall the message he had prepared. The congregation, once captivated by his words, began to exchange worried glances, sensing that something was amiss. Father Thomas felt a growing sense of concern for his mentor. He had always looked up to Father Michael, and witnessing his decline was both heartbreaking and alarming. The priest who had once been a beacon of hope for the community was now grappling with confusion and forgetfulness. Father Thomas tried to approach the situation delicately, offering to assist with preparations for services and encouraging Father Michael to take breaks when needed. But the older priest was proud and resistant to change, insisting that he was fine and that he could manage on his own. This stubbornness only added to Father Thomas's worries, as he feared that Father Michael's pride would prevent him from seeking the help he desperately needed. As the months wore on, the challenges of managing the parish became increasingly daunting for Father Thomas. With Father Michael's mental health deteriorating, the burden of leadership fell squarely on his shoulders. He found himself juggling the responsibilities of running the parish, organizing community events, and providing support to parishioners who were beginning to express their concerns about Father Michael's well-being. The once cohesive team of clergy was now strained, and Father Thomas felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. He was determined to uphold the values of the church and support his community, but the emotional toll of watching Father Michael decline was overwhelming. The parishioners, who had once relied on Father Michael for guidance, began to turn to Father Thomas for support. They sought his counsel during difficult times, and he found himself stepping into a role he had not anticipated. While he was honored to be trusted by the community, the pressure to fill the void left by Father Michael's decline was immense. He felt a sense of responsibility to uphold the legacy of the older priest while also addressing the growing concerns of the congregation. The delicate balance of managing a parish under such circumstances weighed heavily on his heart. Father Thomas began to notice the impact of Father Michael's decline on the community as well. The once vibrant church services were now tinged with an air of uncertainty. Parishioners whispered among themselves, their worry palpable as they observed the changes in Father Michael. The warmth and comfort they had once felt in the presence of their beloved priest were now overshadowed by an unsettling sense of unease. Father Thomas knew that he had to act, but he was unsure of how to approach the situation without causing further distress. One particularly challenging Sunday, Father Michael delivered a sermon that left the congregation in stunned silence. He had begun speaking about a topic that seemed unrelated to the readings of the day, his words meandering and disjointed. Father Thomas watched from the pews, his heart sinking as he realized that Father Michael was struggling to connect with his audience. The parishioners exchanged worried glances, and Father Thomas could see the concern etched on their faces. After the service, several members approached him, expressing their fears about Father Michael's well-being. They were worried that he was no longer fit to lead, and Father Thomas felt the weight of their concerns pressing down on him. In the days that followed, Father Thomas made the difficult decision to speak with Father Michael about his mental health. He approached the conversation with care, hoping to convey his concerns without causing offense. Father Michael, he began gently, I've noticed that you've been having a tough time lately. I want you to know that it's okay to ask for help. We're all here for you. Father Michael's reaction was defensive. He brushed off the comments, insisting that he was simply tired and that everyone goes through rough patches. The conversation left Father Thomas feeling frustrated and helpless. He knew that Father Michael needed support, but the older priest's refusal to acknowledge his struggles made it difficult to provide the assistance he required. As the weeks turned into months, the situation continued to deteriorate. Father Michael's mental decline became more pronounced, and the challenges of managing the parish grew increasingly overwhelming for Father Thomas. He found himself working long hours, trying to fill the gaps left by Father Michael's absence. The emotional toll was significant, and he often felt isolated in his struggles. The weight of the parish's expectations rested heavily on his shoulders, and he began to question his own abilities as a leader. Despite the challenges, Father Thomas remained committed to his role. He sought solace in prayer and leaned on the support of a few close friends within the clergy. They offered encouragement and understanding, reminding him that he was not alone in his struggles. However, the burden of watching Father Michael decline continued to haunt him. He felt a deep sense of loss for the mentor he had once admired, and the emotional toll of the situation began to manifest in his own mental health. As Father Thomas navigated the complexities of managing the parish, he also grappled with feelings of guilt. He questioned whether he could have done more to help Father Michael, whether he should have pushed harder for the older priest to seek help. The what-ifs plagued his thoughts, and he found himself caught in a cycle of self-doubt. The once clear path of his vocation now felt clouded by uncertainty, and he struggled to find a way forward. In the midst of this turmoil, Father Thomas began to realize that he needed to prioritize his own well-being. He sought guidance from trusted mentors and began to explore resources for clergy facing similar challenges. He learned the importance of self-care and the necessity of seeking support when needed. The journey was not easy, but he understood that in order to help others, he first needed to take care of himself. As Father Thomas continued to navigate the complexities of managing the parish and supporting Father Michael, he found strength in the community around him. The parishioners rallied together, offering their support and understanding during this difficult time. They recognized the challenges faced by both priests and began to foster an environment of compassion and empathy. Together, they worked to create a space where healing could take place, not just for Father Michael but for the entire community. In the end, Father Thomas learned that the journey of faith is often fraught with challenges and uncertainties. The decline of Father Michael was a painful reminder of the fragility of life, but it also served as an opportunity for growth and resilience. As he continued to support his mentor and navigate the complexities of parish life, Father Thomas discovered the power of community and the importance of compassion in the face of adversity. The road ahead would be difficult, but he was determined to honor Father Michael's legacy while forging a path of hope and healing for the future of Wincham. The night was heavy with anticipation in Wincham, a palpable tension hanging in the air as the townspeople prepared for the annual harvest festival. The streets were adorned with colorful banners, and the scent of roasted chestnuts wafted through the cool autumn breeze. Yet, beneath the festive exterior, a sense of unease lingered, particularly for Father Thomas and Father Michael. The two priests had been at odds for weeks, their relationship strained by the mounting pressures of parish life and Father Michael's deteriorating mental health. As the festival unfolded, Father Thomas found himself increasingly worried about Father Michael. The older priest had become fixated on the idea of martyrdom, a notion that had taken root in his mind during the weeks leading up to the festival. He spoke of sacrifice and divine purpose, often referencing the struggles of the early church and the sacrifices made by those who had come before them. Father Thomas listened with growing concern, sensing that Father Michael's grasp on reality was slipping. The tension between them was palpable, with Father Thomas desperately trying to reach out to his mentor, while Father Michael seemed to retreat further into his own world. The evening of the festival arrived, and the townspeople gathered in the square, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Father Thomas stood at the edge of the festivities, watching as families celebrated the bounty of the harvest. He felt a sense of duty to ensure that Father Michael was safe, but the older priest had insisted on participating in the evening's events, claiming that he had a message to deliver to the congregation. Father Thomas's heart raced with anxiety as he scanned the crowd, searching for any sign of Father Michael. As the night wore on, the atmosphere shifted. A hush fell over the crowd as the sky darkened, and a sense of foreboding settled in. Suddenly, a brilliant flash illuminated the night sky, followed by a deafening roar that echoed through the valley. The townspeople gasped in awe and fear as a meteorite streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of light in its wake. Father Thomas felt a chill run down his spine as he watched the celestial phenomenon, sensing that something monumental was about to unfold. Father Michael, however, was entranced by the sight. He stood in the center of the square, arms raised to the heavens, his face illuminated by the glow of the meteorite. "This is a sign," he shouted, his voice ringing out above the crowd. "A sign of divine intervention. We are called to witness this moment." The townspeople looked on in confusion, unsure of how to react. Father Thomas felt a surge of panic as he rushed toward Father Michael, desperate to pull him back from the brink of his delusions. "Father Michael, please," Father Thomas pleaded, his voice strained with urgency. "This isn't the time for this. We need to focus on the festival and the community." But Father Michael was lost in his own world, his eyes shining with fervor as he continued to preach about sacrifice and the need for the faithful to stand firm in their beliefs. The tension between the two priests reached a boiling point, and Father Thomas felt a deep sense of frustration and helplessness. As the meteorite continued to blaze across the sky, Father Michael's fervor intensified. He began to speak of martyrdom, claiming that the town was being called to a higher purpose. "We must be willing to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good," he declared, his voice rising above the murmurs of the crowd. Father Thomas felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he realized that Father Michael was spiraling further into his delusions. The surreal nature of the moment was overwhelming, and he struggled to comprehend how his mentor had become so consumed by his beliefs. The townspeople, caught between awe and confusion, began to murmur among themselves. Some were captivated by Father Michael's impassioned speech, while others exchanged worried glances, sensing that something was terribly wrong. Father Thomas felt a sense of urgency wash over him as he approached Father Michael, determined to bring him back to reality. "Father Michael, this isn't what the festival is about. We need to come together as a community, not divide ourselves," he implored, his voice filled with desperation. But Father Michael was undeterred. He continued to preach, his words growing more fervent and erratic. "We are chosen. We must embrace our destiny." The crowd began to shift uneasily, and Father Thomas could see the fear in their eyes. The surreal nature of the incident was becoming increasingly unsettling, and he knew that he had to intervene before things spiraled out of control. In a moment of clarity, Father Thomas reached out and grasped Father Michael's arm, trying to pull him away from the crowd. "Please, let's go inside and talk," he urged, his voice low and steady. But Father Michael resisted, his eyes wild with conviction. "No, this is our moment. We must stand firm." The tension between them reached a breaking point, and Father Thomas felt a surge of frustration and sorrow. He had watched his mentor decline, and now he was witnessing the culmination of that decline in a moment that felt both tragic and surreal. As the meteorite continued to streak across the sky, a sudden explosion of light erupted from the heavens, illuminating the square in an otherworldly glow. The crowd gasped in unison, and Father Thomas felt a wave of dread wash over him. In that instant, he realized that Father Michael was not just lost in his delusions. He was on the brink of something catastrophic. The surreal nature of the moment became all too real as the ground beneath them trembled, and a shockwave rippled through the square. Father Michael, still caught in his fervor, raised his arms to the sky, seemingly oblivious to the chaos unfolding around him. "We must embrace our fate," he shouted, his voice echoing through the night. But before Father Thomas could react, the shockwave hit, knocking him off his feet. The crowd erupted into screams as chaos ensued, people scrambling for safety as debris fell from the sky. In the midst of the turmoil, Father Thomas struggled to regain his footing, his heart racing as he searched for Father Michael. The surreal nature of the incident had transformed into a nightmare, and he felt a sense of panic rising within him. He pushed through the crowd, calling out for his mentor, but the chaos drowned out his voice. The once festive atmosphere had turned into a scene of terror, and Father Thomas felt a deep sense of loss as he realized that he might not be able to save Father Michael from himself. As the dust began to settle, Father Thomas finally spotted Father Michael lying on the ground, surrounded by debris. His heart sank as he rushed to his mentor's side, kneeling beside him. Father Michael's eyes were closed, and his body lay still. The surreal nature of the night had taken a tragic turn, and Father Thomas felt a wave of grief wash over him. He had watched as Father Michael had spiraled into madness, and now he was faced with the heartbreaking reality of what that madness had wrought. In that moment, Father Thomas understood the true cost of Father Michael's delusions. The older priest had believed he was destined for martyrdom, but the tragic outcome of that night was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the consequences of unchecked beliefs. The tension between them had culminated in a moment that would forever change the course of their lives and the community of Wincham. As the sirens wailed in the distance and the townspeople began to gather around, Father Thomas felt a profound sense of loss. The night that had begun with celebration had ended in tragedy, and he knew that the repercussions would be felt for years to come. The surreal nature of the incident would haunt him, a reminder of the delicate balance between faith and delusion, and the importance of recognizing the signs of mental decline before it was too late. In the aftermath of that climactic night, Father Thomas would carry the weight of Father Michael's choices and the tragic outcome of their final confrontation. The community of Wincham would forever be marked by the events of that evening, and Father Thomas would be left to navigate the complexities of grief, loss, and the search for meaning in the wake of tragedy. The meteorite that had once been a symbol of hope and divine intervention had become a harbinger of sorrow, and the echoes of that night would resonate through the town for generations to come. In this video, we have explored a series of key events and themes that highlight the intricate dynamics of personal safety in the workplace, the profound impact of mental health on individuals and communities, and the importance of fostering open dialogue about these critical issues. As we navigated through the experiences of Father Thomas and Father Michael in the small town of Wincham, we witnessed how the pressures of leadership and the challenges of mental decline can create a ripple effect that extends far beyond the individual, affecting the entire community. One of the central themes of the video is the importance of understanding personal safety in the workplace. We began by examining the experiences of workers at the steel plant, where the stakes were high and the potential for accidents loomed large. The narrative underscored that personal safety is not just about adhering to protocols. It is about cultivating a culture of vigilance and support among colleagues. The tragic events that unfolded during the night shift served as a stark reminder that safety must always be prioritized, and that open communication is essential in addressing concerns before they escalate into crises. As we transitioned to the story of Father Thomas and Father Michael, we delved into the complexities of mental health and its impact on individuals and communities. Father Michael's decline was not just a personal struggle. It was a reflection of the broader societal issues surrounding mental health awareness and support. The video highlighted the importance of recognizing the signs of mental distress and the need for compassion and understanding within communities. Father Thomas's journey to support his mentor illustrated the challenges faced by those who care for individuals experiencing mental health issues, emphasizing that these struggles are often intertwined with the fabric of community life. Throughout the video, we also touched on the theme of resilience. The townspeople of Wincham, despite facing the turmoil brought on by Father Michael's decline and the tragic events of the Harvest Festival, demonstrated a remarkable capacity to come together in the face of adversity. This resilience is a testament to the strength of community bonds and the importance of supporting one another during difficult times. It serves as a reminder that while challenges may arise, the collective spirit of a community can foster healing and growth. As we reflect on the key events discussed, it is crucial to recognize that the stories shared are not just isolated incidents. They are part of a larger conversation about workplace safety and mental health. The video encourages viewers to take these lessons to heart, to prioritize their own safety and well-being, and to extend that care to those around them. By fostering an environment where individuals feel safe to express their concerns and seek help, we can create a culture of support that benefits everyone. In closing, we invite you to engage with the content of this video. If you found the themes discussed to be meaningful, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more insightful discussions on important topics. Your support helps us continue to create content that raises awareness and fosters dialogue around personal safety and mental health. Additionally, we would love to hear your thoughts on the video. Please take a moment to like, share, and comment below. Your feedback is invaluable, and it helps us understand the issues that resonate with you. Together, we can work towards a future where personal safety is prioritized, mental health is openly discussed, and communities are strengthened through understanding and compassion. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to continuing the conversation with you in future videos.